Yo, what's good, y'all? It's your boy, Coach Anthony. Got an interview that I did with my boy Tyrone Magnus. Now, Tyrone Magnus got 1.9 million subscribers on his YouTube channel. He does a lot of reactions. You know, he's got a very great personality, and he was really interested to hear my opinion on the Logan Paul Floyd Mayweather fight. Now, I know that fight happened already about 2 weeks ago, and I know we done moved on from that. But it's an interview that I thought that would be dope to at least show you guys, for all you guys who don't follow Tyrone. But if you ever do want to follow him, you can go ahead and go on the link. I'll have all his information right there. But yeah, guys, I decided to go ahead and share it with you guys just in case you missed it. And you already know, guys, boxing life.
All right. What's up? Where y'all at? Get in here. We're about to talk some boxing. I got an expert, a trainer here, a boxer himself. Get on in here, start flowing. Let me know y'all in here. We're going to talk all about this exhibition, this circus maybe. Some of you are calling it. Some of you are calling it rigged. I want to know what y'all think about this. And more importantly, we're going to get the expert's opinion. All right, I'm watching it. They're flowing in now. I'm here with Coach Anthony. Okay? Now listen, y'all. Coach Anthony is a world-renowned boxing teacher, trainer of the world champions and contenders, 200K plus on his YouTube channel, and he's verified. He's also got online training courses on his website, which I will link in the description box. Okay.
What's going on?
All right, cool. So they're flowing in here. There they go. Something about, hey, coach. So now, real quick, you know, I mean, plugging you real quick before we actually really get into it. Is there particular states you work with people that come to train with you, just in case they want to learn the box or sharpen their skills?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm kind of mobile because I closed my gym. I was open here in New Jersey. I was here open in New Jersey for quite a bit of time. And when the coronavirus hit, I was actually in the process of moving my facility to a different location, but then the corona hit and I decided not to reopen. I've been looking at different areas, different states. I've been looking in, you know, places like Florida, you know, places like Texas, different areas, just kind of expanding my thoughts if I even want to relocate here in New Jersey. But really, I'm just a guy right now that I'm pretty free. I kind of like how things are right now. I'm kind of not tied into one location. So, you know, for the most part, if it makes sense, I'm willing to go anywhere right now.
Okay.
And if somebody wants to come to me, I currently live in New Jersey, you know, so we could do it in the New Jersey, Philadelphia area. I'm right outside of Philadelphia.
All right. So y'all heard him. Jersey, Philadelphia area. Y'all want some lessons? Y'all want to sharpen your skills? Make sure you see him. All right. Like I said, afterwards, I'm going to put his link right in the description box for y'all. All right. Now, so this man was actually at the fight. You were there, right?
Yeah, yes, I was.
Yeah. I saw his Instagram post. He was there, and I was like, oh, I got to hear what he's got to say. I didn't even notice that part in the fight where Logan was slumped over until people pointed it out later. So I'm going to give my opinion real quick, and then I'm going to let you flow on it because I know you know much more about this than me. I'm a casual boxing fan. I don't watch everything, and I don't box myself. Not yet.
Right. We're going to change that.
Wink, wink. Y'all might see something later on, y'all, so keep your eyes open for a possible collaboration.
All right.
To me, it didn't look fixed. However, it did appear that maybe Floyd was torn. I felt like it was like a lion playing with his food. That's what it felt like to me. It felt like he maybe could have finished him if he wanted to. And after seeing the other people's videos, maybe he did knock him out, maybe he didn't. But I don't think it was rigged, but I think it was what it was. It was an exhibition, but he toyed with him and he didn't go too hard on him. What do you think, Coach?
Honestly, to be honest with you, I believe that it was harder for Floyd than he wanted it to be.
Okay.
I think Floyd Mayweather probably didn't train to the capacity that he typically does.
Okay.
He probably went into the gym and, went through the motions, hit the heavy bag, shadow box, maybe did a little bit of sparring, maybe, whatever he does naturally to stay in shape. Because he looks like a guy who likes to work out whether he's fighting or not. And I'm pretty sure boxing is one of his main ways to stay in shape. Okay. So with that being said, I think that he thought that he can just train regularly how he does as a normal general fitness kind of routine that he has, maybe add a little sparring here and there, and he would be able to maybe even stop Logan Paul. I had a few phone calls from a few people who are in the boxing, pretty big in boxing, who actually know Logan Paul pretty well, and they actually told me that Logan Paul is very strong, that he has a very good right hand, and that he stays in tremendous shape, that he will be able to complete the rounds that they had, which was 8 rounds. And they proved that to be true. He was in very good shape. He's very strong. You can see it in his physique that he's in good shape, that he's strong. He outweighs Floyd Mayweather by 50 pounds. And if we were scoring the bout, I mean, it's pretty obvious that you would have to give it to Floyd Mayweather if that was a scored bout. I didn't see anything other than the first round that you can give to Logan. Logan had a little flurry toward the end of the first round. And then after that, it kind of seemed like Floyd was controlling the situation, but not necessarily dominating the situation. And I think that had a lot to do with the size and the strength and the fact that Logan Paul is just a bigger man. Pause. He's a bigger man and in good shape. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, because I noticed, just me watching, in the beginning, it looked like Logan was really going after him. But then it looked like, because in a lot of Floyd fights, I see guys chasing him. But it looked like Floyd was pursuing him pretty much for the rest of the fight. He kept putting his hands up, coming in, and just waiting for him to make a move so he could counter or whatever, And
the fact that Floyd was able to do that, even though to the naked eye and to the casual, somebody's going to say, Floyd should have knocked him out, or Floyd should have did this. Floyd, just the fact that a man who weighs 50 pounds less than you is able to walk forward with his hands up without necessarily giving you a lot of extra movement kind of showed the disparity in experience and skill level. Typically, that wouldn't be the approach if you're boxing a man that much heavier, that much stronger as a smaller guy. As a smaller guy, you would be very concerned about any incoming punches from a bigger guy. Think about yourself. If you were fighting a guy 50 pounds heavier than you are right now, a lot taller than you are right now, would you think you would be confident to just walk in, hands up, straight forward the way Floyd did? So Floyd being able to do that alone is where the experienced coach will say, look what he's doing, though. He's still basically doing whatever he wants. The problem was he couldn't get the shot off because Logan did a good job at keeping distance, and he had a good job at tying up when they got close. And, that comes from his wrestling background. He does have a background in wrestling, and he was able to hold on. Yeah, he was able to hold on when the action got close quarters, which in turn prevented him from getting knocked out or anything like that.
Got you. It also looked like he was getting gassed.
Yeah, I'm sure he was, but he did well considering. You never fought an 8-rounder before. You're boxing Floyd Mayweather, nevertheless. You have no professional boxing experience, no amateur boxing experience. Yeah. It was quite impressive on Logan Paul's part to even be able to do that, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised. I gave him his credit for lasting and doing what he did. But Floyd was definitely controlling. He even put his arm on his neck that time when they tied up. I was like, You don't see a smaller guy usually do that, like manhandling you like that. You don't see that. So what'd you think about the whole controversy as far as him knocking Logan out? Do you think that's what happened or no?
I think it looked like that. I think it looked like that in the video, and there's a possibility that he might have lit him up where he turned his lights off for a second. But I think that he regained himself quite quickly. I've seen it before. I've seen it in professional fights where guys get knocked out by one punch and the next punch wakes them up. It's weird, but it happens. I've seen it. You know, you see it when you're at these fights and you see it close and you see a guy on the road, boop, boop, he hits you with a two-piece, out, up, and you see their eyes open up, and you're just like, wow, he just woke them up with a punch, you know? So, I mean, it's boxing, man. You're getting punched, you know, your jaw, you know what I mean? Your brain, all these different things can happen. So he probably got knocked out split second, fell on top of Floyd. It looked like Floyd was holding him up, but maybe Floyd was trying to get him off. But from that angle and that clip, it gives you the illusion that that's what was happening. But trust me, if Floyd could have knocked him out, he would have knocked him out.
Got you. Yeah, because I think I even saw one picture where it looked like he might have even been carrying him for a split second.
I mean, it was because he was on top of him.
His feet was off the ground. Like I was like, whoa. I gotta take a look at that again. I was watching somebody else's video and I was like, what? So, do you think that there will be a second fight with them? And if there is, could Logan take him?
I don't think there'll be a second fight. I think at best he'll fight the brother, Jake Paul.
That's what I'm thinking.
At best. But I think after this whole huge thing with the gotcha hat and the whole thing and everything that was going on, and then the big lead up to this fight and it ending the way it did without Floyd knocking him out or anything like that. I just think, and a lot of clinching. I don't see how excited the public's going to be about a second build-up. I think that if they was to do it again, it wouldn't do the same numbers that it did. If I don't even know what the numbers were for this one, but I just can't see the people buying into it a second time. I can see people buying into possibly a fight with Jake Paul, only because Jake Paul seems to be the more skillful out the two, and he's, you know, actually fighting MMA guys and stuff now. But if you had to ask me, I just don't think too many people are going to buy into it a second time around. I think he kind of got his little in and out bank robbery that he said himself. And I think that that's probably going to be the end of it, in my opinion.
Okay. And that's what I was thinking, too. I was like, I think people want to, first of all, after Jake snatched his hat and all that stuff, I think people just want to see Floyd beat him up. So I'm thinking that's maybe a possibility.
Right, but Floyd's going to have to show that he's taking it a little bit more serious, in my opinion, that he's going to really try to hurt this guy, because people don't want to pay all this money to see Floyd Mayweather basically do, you know, the minimal enough to just win without getting hurt, which there was no winner or loser in that exhibition. But my thing is, people want to see some sort of violence, and Floyd didn't really show that in this fight. Of course, there was a big size disparity, and I think that with Jake Paul being a little bit shorter, a little bit smaller, and a little bit more technically sound, I think that actually gives opportunities for Floyd to do more stuff. But because sometimes it's hard to box the guy that doesn't know what he's doing. Sometimes it's easier to box the guy that knows what he's doing, because you kind of know what to expect and where everything's coming from. And I just think that, you know, there would have to be a huge buildup, like somebody getting punched outside of the ring at a weigh-in or something. Like, it has to be more serious for people to buy into. If it's just going to be like what this one was about, I don't know how many more people are going to jump on board.
Got you. That makes sense. I mean,
I don't know. What do you think as a casual? Are you excited to see that?
I can't lie. I would watch him fight Jake just for that reason, because I saw the press conference and the disrespect with that pulling his hat off stuff. And I was like, you know, I would watch it. I would. For some reason, the fight with Logan was more entertaining than what I thought it was going to be. I don't know if I can really put my finger on why I had a good time watching it. And I definitely wouldn't, like, if they were going to do a 2, I'd watch that too. I wouldn't be as excited as the first, but I still would. It's one of those things where, like, a lot of people were saying, the dude's a YouTuber, man. Like, yo, this is a disgrace to boxing. But it's like a sideshow that you still want to see. You're like, all right, well, what's Floyd going to do with him? You know, you want to see it. So I would watch him fight his brother just because his brother talks the most trash and did what he did and everything. He's the more vocal of the two. So it's one of those things where it's almost like it'll give us closure to that he fought both brothers. Because if he doesn't fight Jake, then it's like you're kind of wondering still. Even though I don't think Jake can beat him, I'd still like to see it.
Right. I think I agree with you there. I think that is more of the Jake Paul, because we already saw the Logan. I don't think there's a need for a second one. Now, what I will say about this whole YouTube boxing thing, I think that a lot of people, the problem with people is people want authenticity all the time, and they act as if just because you're a YouTuber, you're not an actual threat in a fight or some kind of in a category like so. For instance, like, remember when Drake first came out? Drake, the rapper, was a Nickelodeon star, and nobody in hip hop wanted to give him props because he came from Nickelodeon. Everybody's like, get this kid from Nickelodeon out of here. Next thing you know, he's the greatest rapper of our era since, the Jay-Z's and the Biggies and those type of rappers, right? So now in the Tupacs, now you got Drake, right, as the top guy. Now, whether you like him or not, I'm just talking based off numbers and based off whatever's happening. But nobody wanted to give him props because he came from Nickelodeon in the beginning. Nobody wants to give the Logan brothers any props because they're coming from YouTube. But both of these guys are athletes. They both obviously are in the gym every day, practicing, taking it seriously, going to trainers like myself, wherever they're located, and learning and showing respect to the sport by training every day and doing whatever needs to be done to be in shape for these fights. I think the problem is people don't want to give them props because it's YouTuber. Look, I met you in the gym.
Right.
I met you in the gym. You were taking care of your body, working out. Let's say I teach you some boxing and maybe one day you decide you want to fight somebody. At the end of the day, you're a man who takes care of his physical body. You're living a clean lifestyle. You're doing what you're supposed to do, but you happen to have a popularity based on YouTube. That doesn't make you a pussy. That doesn't make you out of shape. It's just you decided to monetize your career on YouTube. And I just think that, unfortunately, people want to use YouTube as an automatic, you're soft, or automatically you're not that. And, look, a human being is a human being at the end of the day. A man's a man at the end of the day. You bleed like I bleed. So if you're willing to put in the work, you're willing to learn, you're willing to take the chances, and your game, you got a chance like anybody does, especially when you have the physical attributes.
You hear that, folks? And that's true for a long time, because I've been doing YouTube a while. You've been doing it a while, and it depends on. It's weird because it's almost like it depends on how they find out about you first. Because, like I got it with the whole acting. I was an actor before I was a YouTuber. But then it's like, oh, you're just a YouTuber trying to act. No, like I started YouTube to build my audience, to build my fan base. You know what I mean? To become financially free. So I had the time to go on auditions and shoot movies and all this other stuff. It's just weird because I get, comments from time to time. Oh, man, you'll never be a real actor. I was already a real actor before. It's like.
I mean, at this point, it's almost better to be a YouTuber than an actor. At this point, I mean, I'm watching more YouTube than I am movies. I could tell you that.
Yo, it's true. Some YouTubers are way more popular. They have bigger followings than mainstream entertainers, man. And I had an agent tell me, they told me it was kind of weird for them to place me for certain auditions. They said because they're like, you have an impressive following. This is the type of following we want for the people we mainly pitch to all these big TV shows. But you're not known in mainstream. She says, so there's this weird disconnect. You have what they want to put you in a show, but you don't have the quote unquote mainstream experience yet. So it's like they have to do a little bit of different finagling and talk to people, in different ways with how they pitch me for certain roles. And I was like, oh, okay, I kind of get it. Because I've met people that are been in Netflix series and ABC, NBC, and I've never heard of them, but they're doing the mainstream work. They're working, they're living off the money, but their following on social media might be 10K. Nobody knows who they are.
Right.
And their agents like, yo, you got to get your following up so we can get you bigger roles. So they're stuck in a weird area too. But yeah, at the end of the day, whether you're Instagram or YouTube or whatever, you're big on there doesn't mean you're not legit.
Right.
No matter what that you do.
Yeah, people have the misconception because you're a public figure or a celebrity that now you're like, I don't know, like you're not real or like you're soft or something. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, you don't know this person's lifestyle outside of the camera. Like literally, I can turn this laptop off and go be a gangbanger for all you guys know. Go be a full-blown criminal for all you guys know. I just happen to sit in front of a camera for an hour and speak to people or teach people boxing because that's something that I like. And, at the end of the day, you don't really know who you're dealing with no matter what. So, I just think that, that's the biggest problem. People have a big problem with underestimating people. And especially when you're a public figure, you get hugely underestimated if you don't come from a fighting background or some kind of a criminal background that people know about. So, that's my thoughts on it, man. But I know from over the years of working with hundreds and hundreds of people that anybody who puts in the work, anybody who really wants to learn this, anybody who's a natural God-gifted athlete is gonna excel in boxing. So anybody who really wants to learn this can learn this. You know what I mean? It's just like anything. You have to learn it and you have to put in the time.
All right, so let me ask you this, going back to something you said earlier. About sometimes it's harder to fight the guy that doesn't know what he's doing. Do you think Floyd had that problem with Conor? Because was Conor just unorthodox? Because he was throwing some weird shots. You know what I mean? Like the way when Conor would land, they're like punches that I'm not used to seeing boxers throw at all.
Well, I think the first things first is Floyd fought these guys differently than how he typically fights. And that has to do with the training. And when I say the training is, there's no way he trained to the level that he typically trains, because when he's at his top peak, he doesn't stand in front of you. He uses a lot of footwork, a lot of upper body movement. He's really in and out with his punches. He throws combinations. When he fought guys like Conor McGregor and most recently Logan Paul, he kind of just was like walking you down. And that's actually a style in boxing. We call it walking you down because you're literally walking forward, walking a guy down, basically how it sounds. And you do that for one or two reasons. You do that because either you're stronger than the guy and you don't respect what's coming at you, or you do it because you're not trying to exert a lot of energy. And another thing is, he's doing it against guys who were bigger than him. Conor McGregor was bigger than him, and so was Logan Paul. And both of those men were also in shape, which plays a big part in boxing. What people don't know about boxing is being in shape is such an important part of it. Like, you give me a guy who knows how to box, but he's totally out of shape, and you give me a football player who's in top physical condition but never boxed, I'm going to pick the football player 9 times out of 10 to win that fight.
Wow.
So, that's my true honest opinion, because I know what physical conditioning means in fighting. You have to be able to do what the brain is telling you to do. The brain and the body have to operate as one. And if you're not in shape, I don't care how much knowledge you have, you can't perform. It's about performance. That's why people go to sports performance coaches and boxers hire people to help them with their performance. It's not about heart and knowledge all the time. A lot of it has to do with how can your body do the shit you know what you're supposed to do. You know, it's just like an old man. When a man gets old, his body can no longer perform. That doesn't mean that he wasn't a great fighter. That doesn't mean that he doesn't have a brain full of knowledge. It means his body can't perform. So, you know, a lot of it has to come down to being in great shape. And both of those guys were in great shape when they fought Floyd. And I don't think Floyd was in the greatest shape. I think Floyd did just enough to show up because he didn't feel that it was going to be a threat because of his experience level, and he was able to make it through safely. You know what I mean? And it showed. You know.
I got you. Okay. This was a good chat, man. I might have to have you on again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I should have had you on, but I didn't know you then. I don't think. Or maybe did we meet before the Tyson Jones fight?
Tyson, Roy, you know what? That's a good question, man. I can't remember.
So who'd you have your money on with that?
I thought Roy Jones was gonna do better. I thought I was actually surprised at how much Mike Tyson had left in the tank. He did a lot better than I thought he would. I mean, and granted, if this fight would have happened in their primes, I would have definitely picked Mike Tyson because of the size. But I thought that, you know, at this point of their careers, I thought that Mike Tyson was old and he wouldn't be able to perform like I just gave a whole rant about. But he actually performed very well, and I thought he performed better than Roy Jones in that fight, to be honest.
Okay. Now, let me ask you, pound for pound and the greatest heavyweight of all time. So who's the pound for pound greatest in your opinion, and who's the best heavyweight of all time?
Two very difficult questions, man.
I go first. Was people usually answer the heavyweight one first? So, I mean, that's the question I usually hear people say: who's the greatest heavyweight of all time?
I can't honestly, man. You know what? It's so hard in boxing to say that because you had different eras, different competition levels, different things. Like, for instance, Muhammad Ali, right? I'll give you a good example. Muhammad Ali, a lot of people call the greatest of all time. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not so sure Muhammad Ali, even though I think Muhammad Ali might have been had a better resume than like a Mike Tyson. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he could beat Mike Tyson. So does that mean Mike Tyson is the best of all time? Now, Mike Tyson was really great, but I don't think Mike Tyson can beat today's champion in Tyson Fury, because Tyson Fury is 7 foot tall and Mike Tyson is only 5'11". So does that mean Tyson Fury's the greatest of all time? And then you had a guy by the name of Klitschko who dominated the boxing heavyweight division for over 10 years. And he beat guys like Lennox Lewis, and Lennox Lewis beat Mike Tyson. And so it's like a never-ending free. You're going to go down a rabbit hole of but what if? But what if? But what if? The same thing with Floyd Mayweather. I think Floyd Mayweather's the best technician that I've witnessed. But can Floyd Mayweather beat Sugar Ray Leonard? Can Floyd Mayweather beat Tommy Hearns? Can Floyd Mayweather beat Roberto Duran? Some of these great pioneered welterweight champions that we all know from the 80s? I don't know. So it's like, even though you might think one guy is great, there's too many different variables when you start thinking about the competition level in that particular era, the differences of weight and size. So I really can't answer it, man. Like, from a real professional point of view, it's like, because there's a debate on any angle. Now, who's my favorite? That's a different thing. You know, like, for my favorite, even favorite, man, I got favorites for different reasons. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I love them all, man. That's all I got to say. I love them all. Okay.
Now, do you think that is because you're a trainer? You know what I mean? Like, you see it from so many.
That's exactly what it's from. I remember I used to be a big fan of this one fighter by the name of Felix Trinidad. Felix Trinidad was a Puerto Rican boxer. And me, I come from a Puerto Rican descent. So I got into boxing because he was the only Puerto Rican boxer at the time that was really beating everybody's ass. He ended up fighting a guy by the name of Bernard Hopkins, who's from Philadelphia. Now, when that fight first happened, I automatically ruled Bernard out. Bernard's going to get knocked out. He's fighting my Puerto Rican guy, Felix Trinidad. You know what I'm saying? And then he goes into the fight, and Bernard Hopkins whoops his ass for 11 rounds, knocks him out in the 12th. So when that happened, I learned something that day. To not go off of emotion and go based off data. Had I known what I know now about boxing, I would have seen it coming. But since I don't know what I know now at that time, since I was just a casual at the time and I was basing it off emotion, I would have lost every dollar in the bank if I would have put all my money up. So now as a coach and now as an experienced boxing mind, you know, I look at every variable and I look at every situation. I don't go off of emotion. I don't go off of any of that. I don't go off race. I don't go off any of that. What I go off of is, what does this guy bring to the table? What does this guy bring to the table? And I just match it up, and then I make a decision based off of that.
That reminds me of when Tyson and Holyfield had their first fight. And I remember reading in the paper, seeing something like there was a particular boxing analyst that said that Holyfield was going to win. And he apparently was like one of, or the only one that said that, and nobody believed him. And then when it happened, like, so many people lost their money that night. You know what I mean? I was surprised too. I didn't think he was going to win. You beat him like that, dominate him like that. I was like, wow, okay. And then there's the part of the fan in you, like, because it's like, well, Tyson wasn't really in his prime then. So I wonder what would happen if they were both in their primes. There's all this what if.
And then when you're inexperienced in the sport, you don't really know how the sport really works. So what happens is, it's not the best fighter who makes it, it's the best move fighter. So what ends up happening is, let's say a guy like you, right? Mm-hmm. Let's just say you wanted to take professional boxing serious, and we've decided, you know what, we're going to put some money behind this guy, Tyrone. We're going to turn him into a superstar. Mm-hmm. We're going to go ahead and we're going to get you 10, 15 fights that we know you could win. We know you could win these fights because the people we're going to put you in, if you can't beat them, there's no reason for you to be boxing any damn way. Now you're 15-0, 15 knockouts. You got a fan base because we marketed you very well. We put dollars behind the marketing. Now everybody thinks you're this killer. But we know that we created this killer by marketing and matchmaking. And what happened with Mike Tyson, not taking nothing away from him, but he was moved very well. He was beating guys that were at the end of their careers toward the most. If you really look at Mike Tyson, the guys that he beat, if you do your homework, you'll come to find out a lot of those guys were at the tail end of their career. So he's knocking everybody out in the first round, 30 seconds. People are losing fights because they're intimidated by him. He throws a punch, the wind blows by, and they're getting knocked out. I mean, that's literally how it was when Mike Tyson was fighting. Evander Holyfield was fighting his ass off at cruiserweight, fighting real fights, really fighting his ass off, having to earn everything from the muscle because he had to go through it the hard way. So when he went up to heavyweight and he fought Mike Tyson, he had no chance in hell because nobody really paid attention to the truth. They only paid attention to the aura, which was Mike Tyson knocking everybody out in 30 seconds. But any real boxing mind at that time would have seen it because they would have said, hold on, not so fast. Holyfield had real fights. Mike Tyson was built up. Now, I'm not taking nothing away from Mike Tyson. He was a fantastic athlete. He did a lot of great things. I believe that he's a Hall of Famer. But at the end of the day, the facts are the facts. He was beating guys at the tail end of their career. Holyfield was a cruiserweight world champion before he went to heavyweight. Any real person who knows the game would know that Holyfield fought the harder fights. And when they met up against each other, it showed. Now, don't get me wrong. Tyson did go to jail. Tyson he's definitely just a shell of himself. But I think at any point of their career, Evander Holyfield wins that fight.
Woo. Okay. I didn't expect to hear that from you. All right.
I mean, that's just me speaking off the facts. Like I said, when you go off data, it gives you a different perspective than off emotion. Emotionally, We love Mike Tyson. I love Mike Tyson. Everybody loves to see a guy who comes from the bottom, makes it to the top, goes back down to the bottom, comes back up to the top. He's a freaking, he is a freak of nature. Like his life, he lived 3 or 4 lives already in one lifetime. Like I haven't even been able to reach $1 million once. This guy reached hundreds of millions, lost it all, got it back, went to prison, came home, fought for the, you know what I'm saying? Like, Jesus, how do you do that all in one lifetime? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, let me ask you this. Because I could talk to you forever about this now, but I got a question as far as back to Mayweather. Do you think he fought Manny Pacquiao when he knew he could beat him? Or do you think he could have beat a prime Pacquiao? Because a lot of people said Pacquiao wasn't in his prime when he fought him.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think that there was some business stuff there because of the promotional issues, which Bob Arum was promoting Manny Pacquiao, and Bob Arum and Floyd Mayweather weren't seeing eye to eye. Bob Arum at one time promoted Floyd Mayweather before Floyd Mayweather became his own promotion. So there was some business disputes there. I also think that Floyd Mayweather let the cat out the hat a little bit when he started accusing Manny Pacquiao of taking steroids. I'm not saying that that was all factual, but I do believe there's some truth to it. I do believe that a lot of athletes at the top are taking stuff, and I believe that Manny Pacquiao doesn't get excluded from that group. And I just think that Floyd Mayweather let the cat out the box a little bit when he said, hey, man, let's go ahead and do this Olympic-style testing. And they refused to do it. So them refusing to want to do Olympic-style testing and Floyd Mayweather pushing for it, why did Floyd Mayweather push for that all of a sudden? Is it because he knew something about the game that we didn't know and he was testing them because he knew they wouldn't accept it because he was juicing? I don't know. So I just think that there was a lot of things. And I do think that Manny Pacquiao is a Hall of Famer, fantastic fighter. I think he's a killer. And he's fighting again against a champion now. And he's not supposed to win this fight he has coming up. But I'm rooting for him because I love Manny Pacquiao. I just think there's a little bit of everything to answer your question. I think that Floyd didn't want to fight him at that time because he knew that there was some funny business possibly, plus the business wasn't right. And I think he did catch Pacquiao toward the ending of his prime because Pacquiao still went on to win some pretty significant fights after he lost to Floyd Mayweather, even though he was past his prime. He actually beat a young fighter in his prime by the name of Keith Thurman that he was supposed to lose. So Floyd still beat Manny Pacquiao, who is still a dangerous fighter. I think that Floyd overall was the better boxer out the two, though, if you want my honest opinion.
Okay. All right, good. All right, cool, man. Look, I ain't going to keep you because I know you told me you got some other stuff to do tonight. But for real, it was good having you on. Everybody, this is Coach Anthony. I'm putting his link in the description box. If you are in the Philly or New Jersey area, he's a boxing coach. Okay, he has trained world champions and contenders. Okay, he's no joke. Trust me, I've seen him on Instagram doing his thing.
I appreciate you having me. I'm glad that we were able to finally do something together, and I'm looking forward to working with you, man. You know what I mean? Maybe we can get you to compete against one of these YouTubers in your lane. You know what I'm saying? I get you right. I mean, why not, man? You know? Hey, tomorrow is actually the YouTubers versus TikTok in Miami. You know that, right?
No.
You might want to look into this because this might be a conversation again. YouTubers versus TikTokers are actually fighting tomorrow.
What the? I ain't know nothing about this. I swear to God.
You might want to look into it. It might be something you might want to pay attention to. So I don't know who the YouTubers are, and I'm not sure who the TikTokers are, but they're boxing each other.
All right. Well, it seems like everybody's riding this wave of the Paul brothers jumping into boxing and KSI. I forgot KSI was the first one, that they fought. And so now TikTokers are fighting. Everybody fighting. Right.
I mean, there's money in it. Why not, man? And you know what, man? You keep good shape of yourself, and you seem like a tough guy. You know what I mean? So, hey, man, you never know.
Well, I just don't want to love like this one day. Well, think about it. That's always my concern. I've thought about boxing a few different points in my in my years, and I'm just like, man, after I met a couple and talked to them, they just like, yeah, like that's a real threat. And I saw Joe Rogan on his podcast talking about the fighters he would run into, and he'd just be talking to him. It's like, God, man, these guys are in the gym every day, and they're starting to slur their words. Like, I don't know if this is for me, so.
But you got to understand, though, that's a lot of years of taking punishment before that happens. I mean, These guys don't start talking like that till after quite a bit of punishment.
Okay.
So you would have to have been boxing since you was like 8 and been in like 150 amateur fights and then another 20 professional fights. You know what I mean? Like, this doesn't happen in one training camp, 2 training camps. The body is pretty resilient. Anything's possible. You know what I mean? Can't promise you anything, but what I can say is overall, you would have to take a lot of punishment for something like that to happen. And if you're under the right guidance, you won't have that problem. Like, I make sure my guys don't take that kind of punishment. So my goal is for guys to leave the game the same way they came in. You know what I'm saying? Just with a lot more money.
Okay. Cool. All right, man. You have a good night, and we're going to do this again, man.
All right, Tyrone. Thank you so much.
All right. Coach Anthony, y'all.